Hi folks, I hope you're doing well. Today I wanted to unbox and give detailed opinions on two LED light offerings. Now I know that seems counterintuitive to be doing an unboxing and detailed opinion at the same time, but the one that I want to talk about I've actually been shooting with extensively this month, and the other we have back in Hong Kong. My assistant owns it, so we've used it on some production. So I actually have quite a bit of hands-on time with both of these. They're from the same company. They have nothing to do with me making this video, thanks to B&H Photo for sending it out. So I'm going to share my full thoughts with you guys. And I have to say, LED technology has come so far in the last few years. Just backpedaling, I've been a long-time supporter of this kind of technology, or user I should say. I use little LED packs all the time in my work. And I was for the longest time using a Genere Powerhouse big LED studio light. I still use it in studio in Hong Kong. It's bulletproof, but it is huge, and it was pretty expensive at the time. It was north of $1,000, and I think it's now discontinued, but it had come down to just under $1,000. But considering its size and weight and price and output, there's so many better options on the market now, a couple of years later. So this is the one that I've been shooting with a lot. It's so tiny, it's almost like the size of the little compact battery-powered ones that I used. This is the Molus G300, and that's the entire light. Now the interesting thing on this one, it has the power pack separate. Now, that's one of the biggest differences between the two, is that this is just the light and then it has a power pack separately, whereas the one I'm about to open, the B500, has it all built in together in, I don't know if it's a more usual system, but that's how it's done. Now, as I open this up, let me just tell you, I've been doing a crazy amount of shooting over the past couple of weeks, month. I had Steph here, we were filming in the desert, at abandoned buildings, in underwater studios, in a French loft, in a dungeon, in all kinds of different things for YouTube videos, on the beach, for making different courses and getting stuff ready for the 5-day deal. And I was using this guy pretty much every day. I didn't use it on location because all the location, like in the desert or on the beach, but in all the studios I did take this along, sometimes to light her, sometimes to light the entire scene for whilst I'm talking. We did a part for a course I'm doing using the optical spot, and then these have a Bowen's mount so that we could, create really cool light and shadow effects. So we have used it extensively, and I think it's honestly pretty amazing that this has 300 watt of power. Given the size, my main concern was going to be about, is it actually going to overheat? Is the fan going to be loud to be able to cool down such a big LED in such a small unit? I can tell you the brief answer is it's fine. It doesn't get hotter than my big unit used to. The fan is quieter than my previous units have been, and it didn't interrupt filming at all. Even having at full power at any color temperature through the day, it worked great. I wonder, well, obviously new technology, things are getting better, but I wonder, this has a lot more surface area, whereas my one, which was on paper about the same power, was probably 50 or 40% the size of the surface area, which also impacts, obviously, the potential hardness or softness of the light. Now, this is the B500, and it's an all-in-one unit. So you can see it's not really bigger in terms of the light itself, but you can see the module that's holding the light is extended from the body, and looking through there's all this steel tubing or aluminium tubing with fans on either side pushing the airflow all the way through there to cool this guy down, and then the power pack at the back, and it has its own fan as well. Now, there's obvious differences between these. For the B500, the power just flicks, goes straight in the back there, you turn it on, then on one side you have your dimmer, and on the other side you have your color temperature. On the G300, You have just the release latch for your Bowen's mount, and then no controls on the body, but you have the power cable, which then connects to this box, and then it has your color temperature, your on-off switch, and your dimmer. I gotta say, this control unit does feel a little janky, a little cheap and plasticky. And if I were to compare this guy to its big brother, I think the B series feels better built as well. Not that I had any issues shooting with the little guy over the past couple of weeks, but the control unit does feel a little flimsy. There is a definite plus and minus in these two designs. Before we get to the fact that this has 500 watt of power and this is 300, and I'm going to show you how that looks in video so you can get a pretty clear idea. Now for this one, if you want it to be on a lighter light stand, having this be small and light is really great. I was a bit concerned about putting big modifiers on it because it has no, the center of gravity is right there. So if I put something on the front, it obviously becomes front heavy. In that case, you do want to have a really good light stand, but this locks down so well. The locks on it are really good. I didn't have issues with itself kind of being unstable on the light stand. So in a way, that's good. In another way, if you have heavy duty light stands, then the all-in-one unit has some advantages that you can put bigger modifiers on and the light stand isn't likely to topple over. It is higher power output, and I'm going to demonstrate that for you later. And something to keep in mind, I actually prefer an all-in-one unit because when you have everything set up and you go over the light to make an adjustment, this is then usually at waist, head, shoulders, or above head level, and quite easy to get in there and make adjustments. This one, you can hang it on the light stand, but there's a good chance it's going to be just on the floor. It's kind of designed for that as well. So depending where it is, one, it's more cabling to deal with. So you've got the power cable to the wall, then the power cable to the light unit, whereas this one just has the one standard power cable that you can plug straight into the wall. And you may be then going down onto the ground all the time to make adjustments with this guy, which I found was the case. I don't want to rely on using this little strap to just hang it on one of the attachments on a light stand. So overall, I found from my previous experience using this one and my very recent experience using the G300 that I actually prefer the design of the B500, and I like its power output, and it's actually slightly cheaper in price as well. Let me just show you a little bit on how the power output on these guys differs. Okay, so let's get this little party started. I've got my main camera on manual exposure, the rear camera on auto exposure, so you can see what's going on. Now, this is with no light added to the scene. Now I'm gonna put the G300 on at 50% power. Well, you'll see my spot, so I'll stay in the middle of this door frame here. So you can see at 50% power, the amount of light that guy is able to add to the scene. It's a very dramatic difference, and in this kind of situation here, I'm bouncing it off the wall to then come back at me. If I were using it in a directional light and maybe diffusing it, I would get even more juice from it. Let's try it at 100%. Okay, so this guy at 100% power, I think pretty much lights me correctly, given what we have going on here in the room. My settings, the G300 can get us there. So let's see how much brighter the B500 will be. Reminder, this is at 50% juice from the light, so I'll start out the other guy at 50 as well. Okay, this is 50% power, and to me this looks about as bright as the other one was at 100, or close anyway. What do you think? Let's see how it is at 100. Okay, now keeping in mind neither of them I'm using any kind of director to funnel the light and keep it tighter. This is creating a big hot spot on the wall there. There are plenty of ways that we could get more juice out of these. But that simple experiment, I think, shows you just how far you can push these lights, and that the 500 has significantly more output than the G300. So look, in the end, it just comes down to your needs. The G300 really puts out a lot of power. It's enough for most situations. I was really impressed, you know, when we were shooting in underwater, for example, this compared to the lights they had on the set, this was so much more powerful, and I could really just illuminate the whole thing and, you know, drop my ISO by several stops. So it's great. But overall, given the form factor, the power, and the price, my personal choice would be for the B500. Now, I kind of feel like I'm cheating on my old Generate Powerhouse because it served me so well for so many years. But given that that's using the older technology, and after like 4 or 5 years of constant use, the fan does occasionally rattle now, I think I'm going to be ponying up and purchasing one of these for myself to use in studio, and it is a really nice unit for travel as well. The fans are nice and quiet, and it's able to keep itself sufficiently cool so that, you know, you don't have issues with using it for a long period of time. Let me know if you have any questions or if there's any other lighting equipment you'd like me to check out for you guys, and I'll see you soon.